Good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, Crystal. This is another edition of the 9 o'clock Meltdown podcast. And over Facebook video, I have the oh so wonderful and extremely talented Mark Schirmacher. Hello!
Thank you. Hello, Crystal.
Hello. How are you? It seems like we haven't talked in forever. You've been on the show a bunch of times before. You're still down in Minneapolis,
Yep.
rocking everything down there. So dive in. Let's dive in. Tell me about your day. Tell me about your year. Holy cow, it's been a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. I know. So I think we're going to meet maybe over the summer, like before COVID was kind of a thing, in the spring, summer, and that got put off. And so yeah, 2020, we're through it now, and boy, it feels kind of like a different world.
Yeah, it does. It does.
On so many fronts. Like in Minneapolis here, there was a lot of so much energy and I guess strife and turmoil with George Floyd, and that was kind of a huge part of my summer here. And the anniversary of that's coming up, I guess, in a couple of months. So musically, at the time of COVID, making music, I've stopped playing live. I actually had a couple shows at the end of March last year that were canceled.
Okay.
But I did get to play in Duluth for a night. Where was this? The Dovetail Cafe?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, kind of a fun folk school venue and education center. Yeah. So, I'm doing good. I'm composing a ton of music, not playing live at all, but collaborating with people via like email and satellite recording. So doing a little bit of folk music, but really expanding into the instrumental stuff, electronic music.
Yeah. You've sent me a recent video that I believe your wife had done the video for it, but KEY Trampoline. Is that correct?
Yes, I wanted to think of a really stupid name that everybody could spell and no one would forget, and that someone isn't using already. And that name fit those three.
Fit all three categories, and it's 3 words.
Yeah.
So hitting all 3. Nice. Excellent. Yeah. Well, yes, I took a listen, and it was just this really beautiful ambiance, and everything really flowed together, and it just kind of took you on this really relaxing journey. Actually, was that kind of what you wanted to do with KEY Trampoline? Is just kind of more ambient sounding music?
Doing ambient music lately has been just a side of me that I've always had, but I never embraced the technology to produce it, nor did I really have the outlet for it, because I felt like it was never a Mark Schirmacher project. It was always something I don't know, maybe just more kind of broad.
Okay.
But KEY Trampoline really is this thing that I want to do, that I'm doing now, that's really doing every imaginable form of music that I have in my brain and putting it down and trying these different avenues. Ambient music is kind of one of those avenues. And I'm kind of playing with some chill hop and chill sounds right now. I've done a little bit of spoken word. Going back to the George Floyd thing, I worked up a piece with a spoken word artist from Florida, and a drummer from Sacramento, California. We kind of put a piece together to kind of share our thoughts about that.
Okay. Will that song be released in any format? Or?
Well, it is out there now. It's got kind of a funny title, so it's hard to find, but it is called Sleep, My Friend. Requiem for George, and I can send you the link later on.
Yeah, perfect.
And excuse me,
you're fine.
It's so KEY is just really like a place where I can try anything out and put it out there and not really think too much about it. I put the kibosh on self-judgment. I put the kibosh on strict like quality control. That sounds horrible, but at some point, like, you just have to put music out there,
right,
and get a response from it, and try something different, and not be worried about
Mm-hmm.
what the bottom line is. Because to me now with this, it's just about art. It's about making really wild, crazy, cool stuff that I like,
Mm-hmm.
and I want people to listen to and toss me their feedback and all that whole thing. So
Yeah, and it's such a strike or stark contrast from Mark Schumacher, the folk singer and guitarist and storyteller. It is a really big contrast, but it's very beautiful. I think it still has touches of you in it, obviously the
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
folkness of telling a story and taking people on a journey.
yeah.
It's absolutely fabulous, and I honestly had no idea that you would put out so many different EPs and singles under that
Yeah.
name. I think I sent you a
There's no
screenshot
filter,
of
Crystal. There's no filter.
yeah, I sent you a screenshot. I'm like, is this all your stuff?
Yeah.
So I do apologize for that, but
No,
I
no.
hadn't realized that you had been doing this ambient stuff for a while now too.
Yeah. And actually, I've been playing music all my life, as we've talked
Hmm.
about before. I started when I was
Yeah.
like 15 or 16, and I'm in my late 40s now. And I have never worked with a record label before
Hmm.
or really had such a response from like an audience as
Hmm.
I have with this stuff.
Oh,
And I
okay.
started working with some record labels, and I have like 6 or 7 projects going right now that are getting released from now until kind of midsummer.
Wow.
This is a trip, and every label's different. It sounds like a big deal. It's really not.
Okay. Okay.
Doing the same amount of work and putting out the same music for a lot of times less money, but you're really
Hmm.
making interesting connections with people, and their fan bases become your fan bases. So you're
Hmm.
spreading your music out there, and they become filters for what I do. But
Hmm.
the whole thing with this low key thing is I did not want to hesitate. I
Hmm.
didn't want to wait. I didn't want to edit myself. I
Hmm.
mean, I do. I care a lot about what I make, but at some point, you just got to let it go.
Hmm.
And that's what this has been for me, is a really good learning exercise to be okay with
Hmm.
learning these. And I left all my old music out there on Spotify to show the development. You can go back to my first record, and honestly, it's kind of hard for me to listen to because it's just at the beginning,
Yeah. Yeah.
using technology to record, and I use my studio, different
Hmm.
instruments I have floating around here.
Ooh, nice. You have some nice amps. You've got some really nice guitars hanging
Always
up
a lot of
behind
stuff.
you. So,
Yeah,
yeah, oh, fabulous. You can't see behind me, behind my little screen
yeah.
going on.
What is it?
I've got a wall of guitars and, excuse
Yes,
me, keyboards in their cases. And I just got myself a new little amp and some
right on.
microphones. And on the other side of my laptop, I have a bunch of wigs. So I got a
Wig.
closet full of stuff. Yeah.
I don't have wigs. You
I,
have wigs.
this is my Marie Antoinette wig.
I was gonna say it looks like Marie Antoinette.
Yep. Yep. I've got a, trust me, I have a whole outfit that goes with that one. This is my, it's, as we're getting into showing off our different things. So this is my
Oh, that's cool.
emo
Yeah,
wig.
yeah. So when the world is kind of shut down, how do you utilize your wig stash?
Um, honestly, I haven't actually.
Mhm.
And I probably should. I should probably maybe do something, put something out on Facebook or
Yeah,
do a dance or something like that. But I haven't done it yet. Honestly, I've kind of just taken out this year 2020 to
yeah,
just really hunker down and really figure out what I want to do. And,
yeah.
Joseph and I, we got engaged. We're also,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. We're also house hunting. And really, the beginning of our relationship, the conversation was to go down to Minneapolis, get him to
Yeah,
finish school, get me in the art scene and stuff down there.
yeah.
But really, with technology, and I mean, you're in Minneapolis, I'm in Duluth right now, and we're having a perfectly fine conversation.
It's living fun. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So really, 2020 started shaking, things started shaking out, and
oh my God.
we're kind of just gonna hunker up here, build some
Yeah,
equity, get a house, and
yeah,
eventually sell it, and then we'll have money to move.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, the other piece, if I can loop back
of
and
course.
talk about the storytelling idea that you brought up,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
music, how folk music is really, and
Hmm.
the music I've been writing acoustically for the past 5 years has been these little stories about me or people I know or people I've noticed. And with this low-key trampoline music, I actually described what you just said to a label guy I was talking to, and he said, "Well, tell me about your music." I said, "Well, I'm a storyteller. I just use music to take people from point A to point B, and I want them to go on this journey, you know." And
Yeah.
with 2020 being so hard for so many people, I really feel like there's this massive like healing that has to still happen,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that has happened a little bit, but really not really. And for me, this low key music was an instrumental way for me to get out really complicated and deep emotions without having to put words to them. And I
Okay.
feel like all
Yeah.
this music we're looking at, this ridiculous library that I've amassed so far, started in February, before COVID, before all the riots, because I had an inkling that I could say something outside of my folk music. And all these little songs are little stories, and they go into this emotional kind of area where I think people, if you can feel the music, you can, you know, get healed by it or get moved by it in another way.
Right. Right. And
That's been really fun.
yes, and I've heard it before many, many times that music is a great connector. It's a great healer. It's a
Yeah.
bridge to the past. It's also, a thing for the future as
Yeah.
well. And Mark, I've spoken to many different Minneapolis artists, and one that immediately comes to mind is Clickbait. They're a rap group out in Minneapolis there, and they talked a lot about the community that has kind of sprung up in the light of these atrocities and things like that. Have you found that as well, a stronger sense of community down there? Just not in the artist world, but at large?
You know, it's hard for me to tell. I'm kind of an introvert, and so I don't get out a lot. I guess I don't feel that way. I don't think
Okay.
it's not there, but I just have not experienced that as much. There are artists that I know that we have cleaved together tighter now. And I've actually reached out more abroad to people that I know, and even making connections with people I know, new friends and new artists, more than I probably would have before.
Yeah.
But it's because we're all locked down. And there's I think, a severe polarity right now going on in Minneapolis, probably around the world, about the summer's events, George Floyd's death, and what's going to happen now with the trials in March. And I feel like that's kind of a cloud over us, and I think it should be. That I'm okay with that. But I feel like there's this division that we don't know how to heal yet. You know? And it hurts because I know America needs to figure it out, and we haven't yet. We haven't owned it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I would even start there, but I would say broadly there is a really great artist community out there in the electronic world that I never sensed in the folk world. I don't know why it is. I've been analyzing it. I don't know. But I feel like the folkies are much more into longer stories.
Okay.
And electronic people are much more into like quick stories. And maybe that's the kind of storyteller that I see myself as more, as a quick storyteller.
Okay.
2 minutes.
2 minutes or less, right? Get it out.
Yeah.
Spit it out,
Yeah.
Mark.
I know.
Fabulous. So how has your kind of electronic music progressed? I know you said you're working with different artists, via Skype and video and things like that. Has the kind of folk side taken a little bit of a back seat, or where are you at?
Yeah. Well, the folk stuff has been on hold because working together in studios has not been happening. I do have a song that we started back in maybe August.
Okay.
And we just finished it. We put some strings on it. We had a string quartet play, the Laurels String Quartet here in Minneapolis. They're like phenomenal. They're so great to work with.
Fabulous.
So there's a song that's ready to go, but I'm kind of working on getting a few more done. But with my folk stuff, I always felt like I need a filter there because producing vocals is tough. in my opinion.
Okay.
Acoustic instruments are really hard to get right in the studio, and I don't want to freehand that.
Mm-hmm.
So working electronically has given me the freedom to just create anything and put it out, and that's been really nice. So I guess I would say that my folk music is in the passenger seat now.
Okay. All right.
And electronic music is driving. But we're
Nice.
still in the same car. We're still covering the highway. We're getting miles done. It's all good. There is some Mark Schirmacher music coming in the next couple of months.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect.
Not sure when that'll happen.
All right. Sounds good. Now, Mark, what do you use to create your electronic music? Is it a synthesizer? Is it a keyboard? What are we talking?
I started with this, my phone.
The incredible iPhone.
Literally everything. And there's my son and my two sons. And this guy, he's 20, and this guy is 13.
Handsome devils. Handsome devils.
They're good boys. Yeah. Everything. The first couple of EPs I put out was on my phone in GarageBand. Literally.
Okay.
Selecting samples and creating a drum loop, and then picking an instrument to push my finger on and have it play, modulate the key or put some weird effects on there, and not super innovative. It was more of like dipping my toe in the water. But from the very beginning, I wanted to release it. I just wanted to say, I don't care. I'm going to make the album art. I'm going to load it on all the channels, and we're just going to go. We're going to start going. If I think about it, it's done. It's not going to happen.
Right, right. Don't overthink art. Just do it.
Yeah. And there's kind of a bigger story behind it, going to Nashville and trying to get sort of some producers to back me on folk music, and that didn't quite happen.
Okay.
And while I was down there, I visited Jack White's record store from the White Stripes, and he has a record store down there. Mm-hmm. And you can record music and put it on a 45, and then you can take it home or you can copy it there and sell it, but it stays in that form. It doesn't get put out on the streaming networks.
Oh, okay.
And it's quick and it's immediate, and you do it and you move on. And that's how I used to make music when I was learning. We'd record it and make tapes and hand out to everybody. I was like 15 years old.
Yeah.
And I was like, why don't I do that now? And that was in February, and I came back and I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to do it. So I started doing on this, and from there it's turned into using microphones, pretty decent stuff I had for whatever, and you can see this microphone.
Okay. Okay, and you got a keyboard back there, and okay.
Yeah, and so it's turned into more of a professional, legit thing. But I don't ever have a problem with taking my phone and going outside and catching birds singing or cars going by and putting that in there, because I want something to be like a real moment that you can hear.
Okay.
Really. So it's super lo-fi. I call myself lo-fi because I'm not picky.
Excellent, fabulous. Mark, let's talk a little bit about, you kind of touched on it earlier, that, with your acoustic folk singer-songwriter, you're a little bit more nitpicky with that versus this electronic stuff. You just, you do it right away, it's done, it's out, you don't think about it. Isn't that just kind of, did you do that because that's how you learned to do both those aspects, or is it just because that's how you want to do it? You want the folk music to be absolutely perfect versus the electronic music doesn't necessarily have to be.
It is. I think the folk music is not perfect because I'm not like one of those performers that's super polished. But as far as production values go, I don't have the skills to produce a vocal, acoustic, guitar, and drum track that's going to stack up to anything that's out there. I just don't. It's a whole different thing to get vocals right, and I trust my producer who I've been working with a number of years to do that with me. And also, he's a filter for the songs we record.
Yeah.
I'll play him 20 songs, and he'll say, let's start with those 3. And so having that filter of another human for this other music that has kind of a different reach than this electronic music, I feel like, is important. The electronic music I just put out there, I spend more and more time with it the longer I go. I used to spend like 20 minutes on a song.
Okay.
And now I spend maybe a couple of days playing with it. Doesn't mean I'm,
Mm-hmm.
going back on my plan because I keep releasing it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a very deliberate choice to make it in the moment, be done with it, put it out, and then you move on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I can't do with my folk music because I'm not in control of the process,
Okay.
of the whole technical process.
Mm-hmm.
I've invited other people
Mm-hmm.
in to be my eyes and ears, my mind, my filters,
Okay.
which works for that
Yeah.
because, that's got a different vibe. And I
Mm-hmm.
think people listen to different things when they're listening to it, the human
Right.
voice.
Mm-hmm.
And lyrics matter, everything matters.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas electronic music, I feel like it's not as, boy, this is bad. I don't know how to say it. It doesn't have the same like gravitas
Okay.
that a human voice singing something has.
Okay.
But I will say that I think I am constructing far more poignant emotional moments
Mm.
through this instrumental music because I think at heart I'm an instrumentalist. I'm a side man. I'm not like the front man.
Okay. Okay.
So I feel like I have more freedom to
Mm.
like play all the
Mm-hmm.
instruments and to get the music out there and not
Yeah.
worry about what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Mark, that sounds fabulous. Can we jump back a little bit and touch on, you had mentioned record labels and things
Yeah.
like that. Now, when people hear record labels, they always think of the grandiose,
I
you're in
know.
a
Columbia.
multi-million dollar studio, or you're in like a Prince's studio and you're working with all these people and you're making all these connections and da 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 da. But really, a record label is somebody that will work with you and put your music out for you, or
And take
with you. Yes, or with
yeah.
you, and take a cut. How has your experience been working with different record labels? I assume they're all down in the cities.
No, that is the weird thing, Crystal. I started looking in maybe August,
Okay.
reaching out, and I made a connection with this Italian label, and so they put out an EP of mine in December. There's a label from the UK that's currently putting out the latest single that I just put out, and then they're putting out the full EP or the full album at the end of this month or the end of March.
Mm-hmm.
I've only worked with one American label so far, and they're in like Washington, I think.
Oh,
Or
wow. Okay.
Oregon, maybe
Mm-hmm.
the West Coast.
Are they fairly independent labels? I mean,
Very.
we're not talking about Sony or EMI here.
No, you wouldn't recognize any of them, and they all range from being one girl or one guy running it
Mm-hmm.
to maybe 4 or 5 people.
Okay.
Oh, actually, one of them is probably, they have a staff of maybe like 10 or 15, and they're pretty legit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But these other avenues are really people that love music or love a certain genre in electronic music,
Okay.
and
Mm-hmm.
they just go nuts about wanting to really find the right artist, and it becomes a relationship. It's really kind of cool. Like I never
Yeah.
thought it would be so different with everyone I work with, but
Mm-hmm.
it's been really a learning curve for me.
Mm-hmm.
And every label has different needs. Some want you to do the art, some want to do the art,
Mm-hmm.
some do a ton of promotion, some are kind of more hands off and let you kind of steer.
Mm-hmm.
Some have input on the music. They have like critique.
Okay.
And others say, just give me 5 tracks and we'll put it out. Some want to do singles, some want to do it full albums. It's just the range of things.
Very cool.
Well, yeah, it's been really a huge blessing. It's super fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I bet. That sounds fabulous. So, working with these different labels, I assume that you kind of have some input into, hey, we're going to do this on a vinyl, or we're going to do this via iTunes, or something like that. No, you don't.
Totally up to them.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, is it
'Cause
almost...
some places just don't even do anything except streaming. Most places just stream.
Okay.
But there are a few boutique places that are doing, like I'm working with this one place that's putting out a CD only compilation type deal.
Okay.
And they're a wonderful label called Tsunami Sounds.
Okay.
Tsunami, like the waves, Tsunami Sounds, and they're in Washington.
Very
And it's
cool.
a really lo-fi, vibey, chill record label. Great stuff.
Nice. Nice.
They're doing CD, but no, I have very little control about that.
All right, all right, sounds good. So, Mark, what did you do to kind of reach out to them? I know you said you kind of reached out to them, sent them an email, but I mean, really, at the end of the day, what are you doing? Are you sending them just MP3s and you say go and that's it,
Um,
or
Again, the range is really different. I
okay?
have honestly found Instagram to be a ginormous source of reaching labels and even networking. Most of my artist networking, where I'm doing collaborations with different artists
Yeah.
and working with labels, recently has come from Instagram, where it's been such a welcoming and vibrant music community
Mm-hmm.
that I never really tapped into with my own folk music stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's news to me.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a number of sites you can go to as an artist and submit your tracks and then send them to different labels around the world,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll listen to it and get back to you. That's how I found the first couple of labels I worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I've just been kind of doing my own thing with Instagram and Facebook, or
Mm-hmm.
um, even just Google searches. And then you want to winnow through all the people that are kind of not as, honest or whatever. And there's plenty of people
Yeah,
out there.
yeah. I was about to kind of ask that a little bit.
Yeah,
I
what do you
actually,
think?
right before you, I did an interview with Laura Paul is her name. She's a an artist out in Brooklyn, New York,
Okay.
and she actually completely brands herself on TikTok, and nothing
Yeah.
else really. And that is how she's made all of her connections, is through TikTok and through Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting for you to say that that's how you've kind of
Yeah.
branded yourself and made those connections is through Instagram. When
Yeah.
I myself just did that, a little bit ago.
Yeah.
That's very cool, very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your advice to someone that's maybe looking at putting out their art on the web, on Instagram, Facebook, whatnot? And there's a lot of different things to sift through. What is
Oh,
your
I know.
advice for somebody who wants to do that? I mean, is there a formula? Is there like, hey, if your gut's turning, don't do it? Like, what is there?
What do you think?
I'd, oh, that's a good question. I really don't know. I honestly, on Instagram, I've been met with a lot of honesty. However, I've had a couple websites that I've posted stuff on get hacked
Yeah.
and just like check fraud and
Yeah.
the whole kit and caboodle. So I don't know. To me, I almost want to say if it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't.
Yeah.
But, that's not always the case. So I don't know. Just use your best judgment, I guess,
Yeah.
is what I come to. But everything is different. Everybody's different.
And it depends how you're going about it too. Like, I think how I have started the low key handle on Instagram and reached out to people. It's
Yeah.
been first as this is my art, this is what
Mm.
I'm doing, and here's what I think about it. And I'm not like
Mm-hmm.
posing,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
but I'm also seeking out and finding, and people are drawn to that, where I'm really becoming a fan of a lot of people I never would have discovered before.
Mm.
So it's really like a two-way thing where I'm
Yeah.
really like supporting a lot of artists out there that I think are really great and new and interesting, and in turn they are noticing my art, and it just keeps on growing. So I mean, I think like being you, be you is my advice on that whole thing. You know,
And you know what, Mark? Laura Paul said the exact same thing.
Did
So yes, yes.
and I got to check myself too on that, because sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're trying to be somebody, and that's sort of a mechanism we have to protect ourselves
Right.
in life, right?
Yep.
And some of that's great, and some of that can be a lot of fun, and you can go with it, but you can't like rely on. I can't sleep with that. I have to still say no when I want to say no, say yes when I want to say yes. I have to really believe in what I'm putting out there, and I don't want to. I don't want to be a part of a community that's got bad stuff going on. So I
Right.
opt out of a lot of things that are just not right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm selective, but I also am just kind of saying, hey, here's my art, and I've been doing a lot of playlisting that way, like getting your songs on Spotify is
Mm-hmm.
used to be this kind of mystery, and now it's not as much of a mystery to me.
No,
I'm still
it's
like
not.
not in like any crazy streaming numbers, but
Mhm.
to put out a single and have like 50 people listen to it was not happening in February for me.
Hmm.
So
Very cool.
it's like, all right, it's like really cool that people in Tokyo listen to your music and
Yeah.
they follow you on Instagram. It's like, what? That's great. You know, another
That's
thing about instrumental music is language is
mhm.
not a barrier. So I'm finding my
Right.
instrumental music is going all around the world. I'm
Hmm.
working with and have friends and like collaborators that don't even speak English.
Hmm.
It's incredible. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that cool? I mean,
Yeah.
I think the internet has, I mean, especially in this last year, it's just exploded
Yeah.
into this community almost. This vast, I mean, with that being said, with all that positivity, there is negativity out there as
There's a lot.
well. Like anything. But it's, like you said earlier, it's being true to yourself and your art, and other people will gravitate to that as well. Mark, that's absolutely fabulous that
Isn't that
you're
great? I know.
meeting all these people and getting plays and finding other fans around the world.
Yeah.
What collaboration do you have coming up next? Do you have anybody
Ooh.
across the seas that you're going to work with?
Yes. Yes. So in May, I have a single coming out on Tsunami Sounds,
Okay.
and this is a different project than the CD project, but
Okay.
this is a single that they're putting out, and I'm working with a clarinetist in from Australia,
Oh.
and she goes by the name of Clara Loops, Clara like clarinet, but Clara Loops,
Okay.
and she hooks her clarinet up to all these different guitar pedals, like looping effects and synthesizers and like modulators,
Mm-hmm.
and she puts her own music out like that. And I discovered on Instagram, and I was blown away. I wrote to her. I'm like, I love your sound. Do you ever do collaborations?
Mm-hmm.
If not, that's cool. Keep rocking. But if you do, give me a thing. Give me a shout. And she got back to me and said, I'd love to. So I sent her a song that I had piano and bass and like some beats.
Mm-hmm.
And she layered in this amazing, amazing clarinet work, like 3 or 4 layers of kind of call and response, counterpoint, um, like Bach kind of style
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and just changed the direction of the song completely, making it really a lot more interesting than what I had sent her.
Mm-hmm.
And we're calling it a collaboration, and we're putting that out together. I'm working with this guy in Southern California currently, and he's laying some beats down on this kind of trippy, vibey tune I wrote that I didn't know how to approach the drums for. I'm not
Okay.
super talented with beats.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of an instrument person.
Okay.
So we're working together. We're putting something out in probably maybe a month or two.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool, Mark. Oh my gosh, that's super exciting
Oh, it
stuff.
is.
Super
Yeah.
exciting stuff. I guess another kind of question that I've got
Yeah.
is a little bit more on the business side of things. I mean, so you've got all these record labels, you're doing all these collaborations. I mean, has there ever been any talks of contracts or payment or anything like that? Or is it just for the love of music?
No. So I haven't been with anybody long enough to get paid yet. I think
Oh,
that
okay.
happens either quarterly or biannually.
Mm-hmm.
And there are contracts with all of these labels, and they all
Mm-hmm.
stipulate kind of different things, but it's basically, either like a 40-60 split or 50-50 split or
Mm-hmm.
something along those lines. And time will tell. I'm kind of just going in with a contract and with their reputation online and just saying, okay, if this doesn't work, then I just won't work with them again. If it does work, then we're good. And I
Mm-hmm.
have a feeling that most of these are good.
Okay.
Um, Again,
Yeah.
what do I know? I am been playing music all my life, but I have not ever had these sorts of arrangements before. So I don't know.
Well, good. You're graduating.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. It kind of sounds like you're still in the DIY mode, a little bit, but now
Yeah.
you're just kind of open to more collaboration and
Oh yeah.
bigger things await. That's absolutely
I
fabulous,
know.
Mark. That's awesome.
Well, thanks, Crystal. It is. It feels so good. It feels so me. And just to be able to move and take steps and just go with stuff and welcome new people into my music, and also just put myself out there and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, or if you want to work together, I'd love to. And there knows it happen, and that's good too. It's good to be reminded that it's not all about the song I'm making. There's a whole lot going on. And that's good for me to have that perspective too.
Yes. Oh, perfect. Mark, if somebody's interested in doing a collaboration with you or wants to see kind of where your music's going, whether that's your low-key trampoline or Mark Schirmacher folk artist, how can they do that?
Easiest way is, again, Instagram has been just such a great central location for me.
Okay.
My handle is at low key trampoline, all one word. So as far as my folk music goes, I don't really advertise that on my low key. Sometimes I do if I'm doing something that crosses over, but
Yeah.
the problem with my folk music is I have this name that nobody can spell, right? Mark Schirmacher. And I think our first interview up in Duluth, you're like,
Yeah.
well, have you ever thought about doing a band name that people can spell? I'm like, you're right.
Hey, I don't remember asking that.
Well, it was much more polite, and it was much more on point, but basically saying you can have a band name, that'd be super fun, and people could find you easy.
Right.
But it's all good. I get it.
Hey, no, I'm right there with you. People butcher Crystal Dellefson all day long, so
Yeah.
that's why I went with Mitch.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy. All right. Well, Mark, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to talk with me
Wonderful
and
to talk to you
the
again.
wider world at large. We will definitely keep in touch and talk again. Good
it.
luck with all your stuff that you got going on. I can hardly wait for your new single to come out. Hopefully, we'll get a little sneak peek here fairly soon. So
Yeah,
thank you
sounds good.
so much. Thank you, and we'll talk
Crystal's
soon.
a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.